The red light means your time is officially up according to the book. So we're extending it by 30 seconds. So same as in a competition. You go into a competition, a speech is 5 to 7 minutes. You have plus or minus 30 seconds. So if you speak for 4 minutes and 30 seconds or 7 minutes and 30 seconds, that is acceptable. Anything outside of that boundary is unacceptable and you're disqualified.
I'm going to, if no one minds, ask AJ, who hasn't asked a question yet, to go ahead and ask a question.
One question from Peter and Tucker. Do you think if a new person, someone who's doing their first, second, and third speech, if that person is applauded out, would that increase their confidence or actually lower the confidence?
So when you say applauded out, like continue, pass.
Their red light came up and...
I would say like I understand how everyone wants to grow and everyone wants their first chance to speak, but you know part of the real world is that there's a set time limit for everything, and keep the meeting going. And I'm looking from a time perspective because I'm focused on how can I maximize our meeting, and this 30 seconds is how we use it for not only speakers, we use it for table topics, we use it for evaluators. So it affects the whole meeting, and I would argue that we shouldn't look at the red light as in something where, oh, we should have 30 seconds to wrap up. That should be the yellow light's priority. It's like driving a car, right? You don't say, oh, the red light's coming, I have 30 seconds to go through. No. When the yellow light is on, you're like, okay, I should brake. So that's my case.
Would someone else like to ask our panelists a question? If I'm okay, I'm going to ask those that haven't, and I'll come back to you as soon as we have no one else. Jala, please ask our panelists a question.
My question is to Ron. It's see, now following the book norms, that is which is 5 to 7 minutes, and also completing the speech within the time, and at the same time, as Bosch was saying that we can only speak so many words in that time limit. So why not we are the bell system at yellow light, so that a person has 1 minute of time, and at the same time he is able to complete his conclusion if he has left behind, and giving a clear message to the audience and completing the speech within the time to the international limits. How do you comment on this, Ron?
According to Toastmasters International, when the red light comes on, we should be finished. They're recommending the 30 seconds so you can now learn a skill set like table topics. Wow, you heard the sound, you now have 30 minutes to wrap up. They're saying that's real, that's real world experience. Your boss says to you, I'm going into a meeting, how are things with the Johnson case? Can you just give me a quick summation because I got to get in there and I got to have some answers. That's real world. It isn't real world saying, quick, I need 10 seconds of your time. Okay, that doesn't happen, but the 30 does.
Would anyone else like to ask a question? Again, Natalia, I would hope somebody else could ask before. Corinne?
Just for Peter, so would you consider an exception for an icebreaker speech? Because that's the first speech, and the timing is probably very hard for that person to time it right in 30-second space. So is it possible for any other speeches we could have the same red light, same timing, or can we consider that as an exception?
The tough part about that is that
So would anyone else like to, no, go ahead.
You have 30 seconds.
The panel is getting kind of mad at each other. Go ahead.
personally, I find that really distracting. Imagine a new speaker hearing, they're nervous or speaking, and boom, they're going to stop. They're going to wonder what that is. I would argue that would distract you. But with most icebreakers, the worry is that can they speak long enough? Every new member has asked me, can I, 6 minutes, that's a lot. So I don't think we run into that problem. But I do know what you're saying, but I think the thing is that I think most new speakers are worried about can they fit in 4 to 6 minutes, not am I going to go.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? I'll have Vitaly, then we'll have Janisha, and we'll ask other ones. Go ahead, Vitaly.
Question to all panelists, or maybe to Ron, who's suggesting this red light is on and then the sound, and we allow 30 seconds to continue, right? Will we train people to disregard red light in a real life then? So people might start thinking that, oh, red light, I still have 30 seconds, why don't I just go?
The difficulty with the red light is, you don't have, even the current format, you don't have 10 seconds. You have the amount of time you have from the time you saw the red light. We are taught to communicate, and communication means looking at your audience. I've been here for 20 years, I've seen that thing about 3 times. I don't look at it, I'm here to communicate. Communicating means looking at your audience. I want to know how they're reacting, so I can adjust my speech accordingly. If they're not getting it, then I better make some moves within my speech to get their attention. But you're asking me to suddenly stop doing that and look at that silly red thing, and when it pops up, get ready to get hooked in.
Janisha, would you like to ask a question? And then I will open up to more. Go ahead, Janisha.
Mr. Takar, before implementing the applause sign, have you had a chance to ask members whether they value one extra table topic over extra 30 seconds to speak?
If I remember, it was brought to the executive. I think the motion brought to the executive, then he decided this whole thing. But it's not just one table topics, right? You have to remember, it's not just speakers that it affects the toast. Hopefully, so it should affect the toast, the parliamentarian speakers, evaluators, table topics. That could add to 3 minutes, 3-4 minutes. And sometimes if we have 4 speakers, it could add up to even more. And we have to think about it as more as a club, not just one person, right? We're all here together as members. We're all here together to make sure everyone gets a chance to speak. And that's the perspective I look at. I understand why you want extra time to speak and communicate, but sometimes time isn't allowed.
I would like my question. So have you had a chance to talk to members?
Yes, we went to the executive and we talked to the exec. We had the motion and we talked to the executive, and I think we talked to the members too.
Anyone else? Yeah, I'm going to have Ernest go ahead. Thank you, if there's time.
I've got a question for all the 3 panelists.
So
I
can
agree.
you direct just to one so that we allow?
Oh, can I direct me to one? Okay,
Yeah.
because what I wanted to say was that I agree with Ron, and I agree with Andrew and Peter as well. And I'm wondering if there's a way in between so that we can accommodate all, because I see the point that they are trying to bring up on the table, and I agree with their point of views. If we can bring in all the 3 components together, we can probably achieve everything. Is there a way to do that, like based on the time system that we have at the moment for speeches?
Would it be
Is
okay
my question.
if we had Andrew, as he is the one that records
Sure. So
motions
Andrew,
and
this
logistics
question is
and
for you
things?
then.
Is the panel okay with that we have Andrew answer that question?
He looks enthused.
I'm sorry for waking you up.
I had a quiet time here, that was very good for me. You left me with the most challenging question. How do we propose a solution, an option that meets everybody's needs? How do we manage time and yet have mechanisms in place to really encourage people to respect the red clock, and also, more importantly, encourage our speakers to really not aim for red, but really try to aim for yellow, which is the middle distribution of your time, right? We always tend to be skewed to the longer speeches. On the spot right now, I cannot come up with that nice balanced solution. I see challenges in 10-second wrap-ups. I see, to be honest, there's challenges in a 30-second wrap-up. I see challenges in running our meetings on time, and we do need mechanisms to wake people up that aren't respecting the red light. It's not that frequently, but when it does happen, we collectively need to encourage them to wrap up. sorry, I do not have the definitive answer.
That is it for our questions. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next question. I would like to thank all of our panelists this evening. Thank you very much for preparing 3 minutes, and I appreciate you coming up here and being part of my presentation. Just so the members know, this is actually a manual presentation, but I thought it was best that we do this to help, as the motion is on the floor. Now we've had a lot more discussion than we would have if I didn't do this at this point. So please, a round of applause to all 3 of our panelists. Ron Postula, Peter Takar, and Andrew Brosh. This concludes the panel discussion, and just for everybody knows, we will be moving to old business, and we will discuss, I don't know if you know, Ron brought up the motion, but I'd like to once again thank our panelists, thank the audience for participating, and I'd like to turn back to our chair.
Stand up for this, because this is Dennis's ACS completion, so I believe we have to stand up.